This video is about the structure of HTML document, and we'll get to know which portion of the tag does what portion of in HTML. So let's get started. Let's get started with web page delivery, which means I am not gonna explain the whole dynamic of how two computers in the internet can communicate each other. So think about this example. When you open up a browser and type in facebook.com, then if you hit a return key, this information, what is information? Literally, there's nothing that you are sharing with the Facebook, but you are saying, I need to have your page. So in other words, Facebook is not gonna give its information to everybody. It all has to start with your request. So in this diagram, I'm gonna briefly explain. Like I said, it's a long story, but your computer here is requesting this is the internet, with the internet, and a computer server in Facebook. So it all starts with you. So you have to send out a request that is called HTTP. HTTP is a sort of a protocol, and it is one of the things that internet can do. More specifically, there are a lot of things that these two computers interconnected throughout the internet together. In this particular scenario, this computer, your computer, is requesting information from Facebook. This is called Hypertext Protocol, which means, or aka HTTP, it's delivering a web page over the internet. So in the past, when we have very early stage of a web browser, we don't do anymore. But do you remember that whenever you open up the HTTP, you open up your browser, you have to type in http://facebook.com. You have to type in all this. So what does it mean? I am requesting a web page to Facebook. How do you know? HTTP is saying, hey, I'm requesting a web page over the internet. So once you type in http://facebook.com from your computer, your request going through the whole complexity of the internet, and it will arrive to Facebook server, and Facebook server will get your request knowing, oh, Mike Lee in Muncie is requesting a first page of my server. So Facebook is sending back to my computer of what? In response to my request, it's sending a HTML document, which is web page is an HTML document, and I want you to really memorize what HTML stands for. It's a hypertext markup language. I will explain more on as we go deeper side of this class, but this is called as hypertext because each document is interlinked. In other words, one HTML page is connected to multiple different other HTML pages, which we call the links. Okay, So HTML is all about links, because if you land on any kind of HTML page, you probably encounter multiple links. So it's like from the concept of the link, the idea of web surfing is started, because when you land on the one page, you can go to the other page, to the other page, to other page. So web experience is known as web surfing, because you can go any place by going through HTML pages and HTML pages. So from here, even though a very 2 lines of this explanation, we already covered very important 2 concepts of the internet. One, HTTP, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This is something that your browser automatically attached to in front of your destination. Like even HTTP of Facebook or YouTube, whatever it is, it'll automatically do it. So for example, let me give you one example of any web page over here. So I'm gonna bring over this example. So let's say this is a browser, right? And we don't do anything, but we are going to just type in our destination. So in my case, let's go to Ball State web page by typing bsu.edu. That's known as URL or web address. You can call it as you want, but this is address. If you hit the return key, yes, we arrive, but the idea is, this is my computer, right? So we didn't go to their page. Actually, what happened was, let me explain later on. So once you arrive at any page, if you click on it, and I want you to pay attention on this part of it. Look at here, especially this part. As you can see, your browser, even though you didn't want it to, it sort of read your mind and say, hey, Michael Lee, I know that when you type in bsu.edu, I know you wanted to go to Ball State web page. So I read your mind, but the Ball State server doesn't read your mind. So I automatically attached HTTPS in front of your request to bsu.edu. By this way, Ball State server will recognize what you are doing. By this point, you may wonder what is S there, right? Because we talked about HTTP, but what is HTTPS? S stands for security. So you can think it as like more advanced or secure protocol than HTTP. But basically HTTP, HTTPS, basically the same thing. Okay, so let's clear out something over here. And didn't I say that we arrived, right? But simply, we didn't go any place. We were staying on my computer. Simply what happened was, we were here in my computer, and we going through the another server of like Ball State. So by HTTP, it goes to Ball State server, but because of the protocol HTTP, it sends out what? HTML page. So as you saw in my previous demonstration with the browser, my browser showed the content of first page of Bolstead website, which we call the landing page, but that is HTML document. So what we saw on the screen a minute ago was a file sent from the Bolstead server, and it was on our screen. So whenever, in short, there are two very important concepts. One, HTTP is sending out a request for HTML page, and in response to your HTTP request, web servers, they send out their first HTML page. So that's a sort of it can apply for any different server. So in your HTML, you can, let me delete this one. So let's go from internet here, and your computer is interconnected to the internet here. So this is you. And with HTTP protocol or HTTPS, you can go anywhere. So Facebook, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Instagram. So how each of the server, these are all server, this server know where to go. When you send out the request by HTTP, and in the end of HTTP, you have to say HTTP and colon // and then you have to add a destination address. So if you say HTTP colon / bsu.edu, it'll go to the bsu.bolstead server. So come here like this way. If you say HTTP colon / facebook.com, then it'll go here. The same goes to YouTube or Instagram. And once they get your request via HTTP, again, what they are going to do is sending out the HTML page. So this is a very important concept part, because I am going to ask a lot of this question on your first quiz. The idea of what we are going to learn in this class is creating this HTML page. In other words, we are working on this side, guy, okay? We are sort of working for these companies, or we are hired by this company, and they're going to ask us, hey, can you create a document or page with HTML? By this way, anybody requests our first page, we can send out this page you designed to the customer. So, long story short, what we are going to do in our class is creating our various HTML documents, and we are going to give this to our company or employer. It can be Facebook, Yahoo, or YouTube, Instagram, or Bolstead, and they will put on those files we created on their server, and whenever their customer or viewer or visitor requests that specific HTML document, they will send it to their computer in response. Okay, so I know first two lines we already cover a lot of things. Now, HTTP, let's look at the third line over here. So, HTTP uses the client-server model. I already explained that your computer is client, okay, and servers are more likely a company like Facebook or YouTube. So a user's web browser opens an HTTP session. Again, we already talked about it. Most of the time, your browser opens HTTP because a browser is known for a web surfing tool. So whenever you type in anything, it means it opens an HTTP session here and sends a request again. We send a request to the many companies for a web page. We are requesting a web page to remote server, which can be a Facebook or YouTube. In response, which means the server creates an HTTP response message that is sent back to the client's web browser. So they are sending back HTML document to your computer. The combination of a protocol name, again, one of them is HTTP, but we'll talk a little bit more next few minutes. And a domain name, which can be like bsu.edu, for example. So that's domain name. It's called Uniform Resource Locator. I want you to be able to remember this, because not only because I am going to ask you, hey, what is URL stands for? URL is a Uniform Resource Locator, but also this is important to remember for your quiz. But not only that, this is a daily jargon for web developer, or even you are a video director working with a web developer. Why? We already talked about the first time of my video that web is a gatekeeper. So you are going to work with a web developer. You're gonna have to use, like, instead of saying, hey, do you remember the internet address of the web page? No, you have to say, what is URL of that specific page? Okay. All right. So we good so far. All right. So www destination, which means URLs. Okay. As we talked in a previous video, URL stands for Uniform Resource Locators. And this is an example for, look at here, HTTP. In these two examples, both HTTP is typed in. Most of modern web browser, they automatically attach in front of your domain name, so you don't have to type in. But so that's why you start typing a www or bsu.edu, but this is a protocol, and there is a www.tennis/warehouse.com. Okay, or you can say bsu.////. Okay. So this is a service type or a protocol, which means protocols, things that you can do with internet connection. And the most popular one is HTTP or HTTPS. The same thing, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which means I am requesting a web page. Or you can say Gopher. I mean, people don't do it this much because instead of typing Gopher // already there are so many other special programs are already designed. But Gopher server or FTP, which means File Transfer Protocol, you don't know what it means, but File Transfer Protocol means like something you do like with OneDrive or Dropbox. So instead of like exchanging a one HTML file with HTTP, if you use FTP protocol, two computers interconnected through the internet can share any kind of files, like exactly we do with a Dropbox or OneDrive. Or Mail2 is another protocol that we can share internet with emails. So we can send an email or we can receive an email because of this protocol. So these are only few of the things or service type that we can do with the internet, but there are so many. In this class, I would say try to remember these two. So first one, the most important, HTTP. We'll do a little bit of file transport protocol, and then we'll do a little bit of the email. The other thing I want you to notice is that after your protocol, there is a something .com. This is a whole thing is called as domain name, which is address. Like Facebook, YouTube, you can also call it as a host computer, which means which computer are you looking for? So in this case, you're looking for a computer name at tenniswarehouse.com. But in this case, we are looking for a computer called bsu.edu. So look at here. This is weird because I see this is a long domain name, but this is short domain name. bsu.edu is a short domain name. So some domain names are longer than the other. But what are all these things attached to //? These are all the names of a folder, I would say. Folders or directories in that computer server. So if you're particularly looking for this example here, whenever you type in bsu.edu /portal blah 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 to home, what's gonna happen is because of this part bsu.edu, again I'm drawing the internet again, you're requesting a Ball State server which is BSU. When it arrived over here, so when you type in bsu.edu, it arrives over here. And then this request particularly say, hey, when you arrive the portal, the Ball State server, look for a folder called a portal. So there should be a folder name called portal. Okay. So you have to get in there. And then inside of portal, there should be another folder called a page. And then inside of a page folder, there should be another page folder called a DMS. And another, there is a folder called a home. So these are a hierarchical folder structure of that server. Of course, you should know which one is inside of the other one, because otherwise you're not going to be able to find any folder in it. So this is just like illustration of how this URL is composed. It's a service type or protocol at the beginning and domain name. Now I'm going to clear out this one because it's so confused right now. So let me delete it. Okay, and then so let's do it again. This URL consists of service type, which is this part, or we can say the protocol, and domain name, which is this part or this whole part, and directory or file names. Any web address we are using daily basis is in the example of this guy. All right, let's move on. So let's look over our HTML now. So we sort of done with the structure. I know I used to have about 20-30 minutes of like video explaining how this two computer interconnected through the internet works. But in the light of a new curriculum, I sort of like reserve it for the advanced web development. And that's why in this class, we're not spending that much time of what is a server, what is a client, how can these two computers be interconnected through the internet. We're not going to cover it that. So that's why we are just jump into the HTML overview here. But if you have any question, I am willing to explain to you if you are interested in. So here, let's talk a little bit about HTML now. So HTML is a document and it's all contain text box. So before we talk about HTML, this is probably overview of all text file. Why we are talking about text file? Because HTML is one of the text file. And you may wonder, like, what are you talking about? In my, if I go to the YouTube, you explain that if I type in youtube.com, they are sending an HTML page. And in that HTML page, I can see video, audios, and animations and pictures. But you are saying HTML is a text? Yes, HTML is a text message. So let's explain that first, and then I'm gonna go ahead, because if you don't understand why this is text message, you're not gonna be able to understand what I'm trying to say here. So I'm gonna bring my browser again here. So let's say I am going to type in google.com, and as you can see, Google has very known for this very concise, simple design. I can see a little bit different with like some pages has a more dynamic than the other. Google's are very simple, like some menus over here and here. Graphic, that's definitely picture. That is a search bar, right? And 2 button. Button means you can click on it, then it'll happen, something happen. And there are some links. If you click on this guy, it'll go somewhere. So links. And this is HTML page. Now other pages, if you go to the let's say more dynamic page, like let's go to BSU. BSU has a pretty much good resource in it. Now BSU web page, I know we are all very familiar with this one. There are menus here, menu, right? Graphics, menus. Now this one is a video, and there are buttons on top of videos. And now we stuck because, hey, stop here, Michael Lee. You just said that HTML page is a pure text document. Yes, I did. But you are wrong. Look at this. This page delivered from the Ballstate server. Ballstate just sent me a HTML page. That's why I'm looking at right now. There is a menus and text in here, but I can see the video in it. And I know, as my common sense, that you're not gonna be able to put a video inside of a text file. Text is just text. True, you're right. But then you feel like, well, Michael, you are saying 2 different things at the same time. Yes, true, I'm doing it. So I'm gonna go back to the Google, because that's just simply because it is simpler than Ballstate web page. So let's look at this. There's no dynamic content, no video, no animations, no audio, just like text and graphics. Now, even this page sent from the Google has very simple like graphics and everything. Now, I want you to remember this. Each browser has a different ways, and I am using Chrome. Okay, so Chrome here. I'm gonna probably, okay, here I want you to remember, if you go to the top of the Chrome menu, there is a view menu, and under the view, if you go here, there is a developer section. So under the developer, there is a view source menu. Any HTML can show the view source. So what do you mean by source? And this is a source. Now, I'm trying to make a clear distinction between this and this. So I will say this one, I'm gonna just like try to make emphasize and sort of exaggerate it. Okay, this is a illusion. Why? Because this is not the file. This is a file, but this is not what the server actually sent out. This is what I'm saying is like illusion. And this part, when you come up with another tab with under the view and developer and then source, view source, this is actual code, actual HTML file that Google.com server sent out to you whenever you type in google.com. So I'm repeating. This is the actual HTML file. You are looking at HTML file, actual HTML file. And this is why we are starting from a text message, because HTML, as you can see here, is purely a text message. So I know it's gonna blow your mind a little bit because this is a text, but actually what we see is graphics and videos, animation. So this is what we call as, I'm gonna write down for you, is say rendering. I'm pretty sure some of you already heard this term. Rendering is a converting HTML code to visual info. So this is the main job of your browser. Browser, of course, at first, it helps you to send out your request to google.com, but once it receives a HTML page from Google server, it reads this all HTML code and then convert what we call the render for those HTMLs into the like something easier to recognize or visual information. That's how you see all these graphics and buttons and menus here. These are all rendered image, rendered information. So what I'm saying is, if you look at over here, this is the actual HTML. This is a rendered. This is what you see the browser does. Browser is a software getting HTML page like this. And this is not readable for a human being. It helps us to understand what's actually in it. So these two are identical. This is actual code. This is what rendered by browser. So our job is creating this HTML code, meaning this. So this is our job. So go back to our PowerPoint slide. That is why we are starting from a text message. And let's look it up here. So there is 3 different types of text message. Like I said, we are starting from the text message because HTML is a text. I just show you one example. So there is a plain text, which is a pure text, contain nothing but text. And usually in internet, it is like something file name .txt. This is what we call the file extension. So file extension of txt file usually have only like a text. So in this plain text, there is no way that you can underline. There is no way that you can make some portion of your text is a bold or italic. No. Like I said, this is a simple text. Now, on the contrary, rich text is similar, but compatible for the format and style options. So rich text can be good. One of the good example is Microsoft Word. Whenever you see .doc, this is a file extension of what? MS Office, right? We notice that any document with a .doc, oh, that's Microsoft document. Or sometimes there is a .rtf, stands for rich text format or rich text file. These two, in this rich text, can contain not only the text but also format and styles in it together. So, for example, when you write a final report or paper for one of your classes, your first draft stage, you will keep typing and then collecting information, and then you add there. And once you're done with adding all this information, the next step will be probably make the formatting. So you highlight the main title and then make it as like bold, bigger font size, and different font, and you even give it like underline or something like that, right? So if I get your something .doc file, and if I open that with a Microsoft Word, I can see not only your content, but also I can see your style and formats. Am I correct? Right. Now, HTML here is very interesting because it does both. Okay. Now, it's why we are like using, because if we needed a text file for the experience of web browsing, we could use plain text or rich text. True, but HTML took a different approach, and what it does is it separates text as information from style and format. So in other words, in HTML document, there is a information, but also there is a style, but these two are separable. That is why this HTML file format is so unique, different with all other text file format. Okay. All right, move on. Oh, sorry. Okay, move on. So let's look at the file structure. Now we are getting into the file structure for the first time. For the first time, I am showing you the HTML structure. What do you mean by structure, Michael Lee? Well, it means any text message, any text file, in order to be considered or in order to be recognized as HTML file for your browser, this text file needs to have this structure. Okay, and then we are going to learn all this, and then don't ask me, well, do we have to do this? Well, no, but then your document will not recognize HTML, which means your browser will not be able to process it. So whoever designed this HTML, well, we don't have any option. We just have to follow this example. So here is a full structure of a blank HTML document. I'm saying the blank, which means there is no content in it. In my previous PowerPoint slide, I said HTML is a separation of information and style. So you may expect that, hey, there gotta be some information in it, there gotta be some style in it. True. What I am showing you right now is a blank, which means no info and no style, which means truly blank HTML, but has this much of a structure in it. So try to remember like exclamation mark, doc type, HTML, head, all this. I'm gonna explain all, but in order to make my case more clear, let me go back to the our browser example here. So let's go back to our source HTML. Actually, this is sent by like a minute ago. It was sent from google.com, and then my computer is having it right now. Now I am going to make it a little bit bigger font. Okay. Now I am going to make it clear that why this is HTML. Here it is why. Do you remember what I said? doc type HTML. It's here. And like I said in my previous PowerPoint slide, a blank HTML has a structure. Of course, this one is not blank, but again, it's based on blank, so you should be able to find the structure, even any kind of HTML page. So look at here, there is a HTML here. I am going to scroll down to more other stuff like here. So let's say I'm gonna scroll down over here. There are so many information here. And let me think. Oh my God, there are so many of it. So let's look for a body. So look at here. There is a head over here, right? Oh, sorry. So let's look for head here. There is a head here. So I'm gonna go to the head here. Where is the head of this? We call it as a tag. Where is a head tag? So HEAD. This is not head. Oh, go back. Look at this. This is a head tag. Where this head tag start? Very beginning. Oh, here we go. So this is a head tag start over here. So head tag is here, right? And also, let's say, where is a body over here? So let's go for this example here and say, where is a body? I'm gonna type in and say BODY. And this is not it. I'm gonna explain later on, but actual body tag is here. So body. So my point here is, in one way or another, we have to be familiar with the structure. So for next few minutes, I'm going to explain what does what. So first of all, the first line, doc type. This is something called a declaration, which means any HTML need to declare it as a HTML document. Used to inform web page, visual browser that document being rendered, you know what rendered means now, is an HTML document. So this is the first step that we make any text message or text file as HTML. HTML has a lot of different versions. The version we are using right now is text HTML5, which is HTML5 is the most recent version of HTML. In our previous version, for example, let's say HTML 4.01 strict. I don't know, you don't have to know what strict means. So version 4.01, this was a declaration. So compare this with this. Which one do you like? Of course, I like this one. Why? Because it's simpler. But still, you're not gonna be able to like comprehend, okay, what is happening? So let me explain this one first. In order to understand this whole thing, let's start with here a declaration part. of starting always opening and closing bracket. So anything is inside of bracket, and that's why everything is called as a tag. HTML is like full of the tag. Then I can say learning HTML is learning about tags. Okay, and at first you may feel like, wow, it's overwhelmingly many numbers of tags in there. But as you get deeper in, you feel like, yeah, there are like only handful amount of tags are used for daily operation, and then there are some special tags, but again, not special. So in this case, this is a declaration text, opening and closing, and for declaration, don't ask me why exclamation mark. Just start with exclamation mark, and you have to say doc type. You have to always capitalize a doc type, and don't forget a space, and then say HTML as a small letter. That's gonna be your declaration. So again, any HTML start with what? Declaration, capital letter, doc type. I'm just typing because helping you to memorize it. A space, HTML, and you don't forget you have to close it. So that's declaration. So easy, right? Let's move on. So that's a declaration. Next part is HTML and HTML. Now let me explain this part. Let's go back here. Okay, here. So in this time, there are two tags. Looks similar. So opening and closing bracket, opening and closing bracket. And why they are in pair? Because one is called opening and the other is closing. So be careful in HTML. Most of tags are impaired, but not all of them. So whenever we encounter in any text that doesn't need a pair, I will tell you that. But until that time, just assume that every tag is in pair. So you need an opening and closing. In this case, HTML tag and HTML tag. But opening tag is just like inside of this bracket, you say the HTML, that's opening. Closing tag always start with a slash. So in between opening and closing, there are a lot of things can be in between these two. Okay, so why do we need an opening and closing here? It creates a container for all of the HTML entire documents. So HTML and closing HTML, or opening HTML tag and closing HTML, contains visual contents, initializations, and metadata, everything. So literally, beginning and end of your HTML document. So let's go back to our previous PowerPoint slide. Okay, here. Now, do you see over this thing? After you initialize this, HTML, opening, closing HTML. So it's, even though it exists in pair, I'm not saying it has to be next to each other. In this case, like I said in HTML tag, it's opening, a beginning, and ending. So in between opening HTML, which is here, to closing HTML, which is here, in between you can put all this to contain visual informations and initiations and all the metadata and everything. Okay, so we finished this guy and this guy. Now let's look at the head part. Let's clear this out. Head, now it's easier. It's exactly the same concept. It has opening head tag and closing head tag. So I understand that HTML tag, opening and closing, can contain everything in it. It's a beginning and ending of the HTML document. How about head? It is a container for metadata. You may wonder what metadata is about. For now, I will say just like all this like definitions and connections and everything. But this metadata is not directly involved in any visual element at all. So metadata is not displayed. Okay. And it must be placed between HTML and body tag. I will explain what it means, but again, because right now as reading this sentence doesn't make sense. Okay. These are things that you can put inside of a head section. Now I'm gonna call it a section because a section created from opening and closing head tag, everything inside, you can put this style, metadata, links, and script, everything. So these are things that you can put inside of head section, which is between opening head tag and closing head tag. Now, we're not gonna cover right away, just like right now, understand what it means. Okay, let's keep moving and I will explain more on, and then I will come back to the PowerPoint slide, and then I will give you the comprehensive understanding of whole thing. Now, body and body. Again, the same concept, right? It is like, the same with all the thing. It's opening body and closing body. It creates a body section. The most important thing is define the body. What do you mean by body? Body is your canvas. Body can take care of all these visual elements. I will say not only the visual elements, also it's about like information. So a section created from opening body tag and closing body tag, all the information you want to deliver with your HTML document should be in there. So all visual elements should go in between body structure. Okay. All right. Now this is a comprehensive understanding of, again, blank HTML page structure. So let's look at this. In any HTML document, there gotta be first line always start with a opening bracket, exclamation mark, doc type as a capital letter. Don't forget the space in there, HTML. That's like definition, right? And then first line always HTML to HTML. This is a container for the HTML document. So as you can see, this container from this whole red color is defining the entire HTML document. I mean, you don't see it because my pen is in pink color, so you don't see that much. Let me see, I can change the color to black here. Okay, so here, this red is a container. So in this PowerPoint slide, the most important thing to understand is a hierarchy structure of the whole text. So HTML creates the whole box for the container, and head and closing head. These two guys are creating a head section. So as you can see, head to head, this section, right, is a head section. And then there is a body and body. So it creates another section. This is this guy. So as you can see, inside of HTML, declaration, and once you open again, once you create a HTML section, which is all container for entire thing, opening HTML, closing HTML, which is a literally the container for the entire document. There are two sections in it. One, head section. What do you mean by section again? A section means a created portion from opening tag to the closing tag. So that's why opening head and closing tag. And there is a body section. So mostly body section take care of the information. Head section is contribute to the style and metadata later on. I will explain. Okay. Now, do you understand the structure of it? Because this is exactly the question I'm going to ask in your test. One more very important thing about the structure, I'm going to back to the my color, is that let me be really like emphasize this one. Okay, now because there are two sections, right? Body section and head section, right? Which mean you can put stuff in it, like inside of body over here, right? You can put a whole lot of, you can put the picture over here, you can put some button here, you can put some graphic here, you can do it, which is here. Or you can put some like metadatas and everything. It's like in between head section. You can put it here. So this is your head section. I mean, you will learn how to like put stuff in head section or body section as we go. So I understand that these are two places we can mess around. However, look at this between 5 and 6, or 2, 3, or 1, 2, or here. Make sure that there is nothing in between your like initialization and HTML. This is not a space. There should be nothing in between this line. The same goes to here. Once you open your HTML container and then closing HTML, the first section you have to open a head, because inside of your HTML there's a head section, right? But in between your HTML, once you define opening HTML and then opening head, in between line 2 and 3 or here, you're not supposed to put anything in it. This is number one mistake students make a lot. Or the same goes to here or here. And you may wonder like, whoa, why are you saying this? Because I will explain later on, but it's so easy to click in there because this is a text document. You click in there and then you just put something in between. And this is the whole concept I want to share with you for test. So you are just mess around here. You can only put something in here or here. Don't put anything in between here. No. So here, this is nothing in here. Nothing should be here. Nothing should be here. Nothing should be here. Okay. I'm almost done. So well tackled. As you can see, there is the repetition of this whole thing. I'm gonna try to explain like where the head section does, blah blah blah. There is one thing we usually do, a title. So opening title and closing title. So say title, and title, closing title. And whatever you put in between this title, in this case, it says undocumented. Whatever you put in here will show up a tab of your HTML. Okay, so let's go back to example over here, and this is what I mean by. Do you see there is a tab title here? Or here, this is created by title and closing title. And as you can see Google here, so they have to say Google here. This will create this tab title over here and here. Do you see what I'm saying? So don't be confused that this is not the title of your document. It's like tab title. And the most important thing is this title is going in between head section, not the body. Okay. All right. How to tackle with the tag? Like I said, in body and body, these two scenarios are exactly the same. Look at this. In between here, body and body, there's nothing. Don't think, I'm going to show you later on how HTML works, but there's nothing in here. There's nothing in here. The space doesn't really display in render. So even there's no space here, there's a whole lot of space in here. If you render with a browser, it shows exactly the same result, which is nothing, empty. Okay, so be careful. So this is an edited HTML example, doc type, HTML, and everything. So in this case, particular case is the only, this is all like blank. Now it's not blank anymore because there are two things. Metadata, it defines a what kind of a character. What do I mean by character? Like English, like Korean, Japanese, China, that kind of a character. So whatever character you use, it's gonna be a encoded by UTP-8 encoder. So you don't have to really remember this. So this is nothing to do with the display. It's just like define the characteristic of this HTML, right? Now, the same goes to metadata. I will explain later on. Metadata is for the search engine, but it has nothing to do with display. The only display is, again, title and closing title in between head section. So what does it do? It creates a tab title. And in this case, I said, welcome to Emily's World, right? And I put the hello in between body. Then, do you know what's gonna happen? Let's render it. And it'll be like this. So, because we did a hello in between body, so you can say hello because it was in between body and closing body. Like I said, body defines actual visual content, and there was a hello there. That's why over here. Welcome to Emily's World. It's because in head section, opening and closing, I use a title and closing title, and this whole word was in here. Okay. All right. So you can see the rendering and the source code in these two presentations. Be familiar with the structure. So this is number one priority for this class this week. Try to remember and try to be familiar with the structures. Again, section created by HTML, head section. I'm going to do one more time for you because this is so important. Okay, so initialization, HTML container, head section, body section. And like I said, there's nothing in here, nothing in here, nothing in here, nothing in here. Okay, so you feel like, why do we have to follow this rule? Somebody designed this way, and then we're gonna follow their rules. Okay, so this is this week's of HTML structure. As you can see, the main thing is understanding of how blank HTML, or even not blank, how this HTML file has what kind of structure in it. It's extremely important to go through next step. So I want you to be familiar with the structure. And next week, we'll have a quiz on this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.